The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Okay, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua Mashiach. I welcome you all this morning. Let me know how I sound. Making sure you all hear me. Trying to live stream here, and I'm on the road. Gotta run up to see my mother here, so it'll be maybe a little quirky here in another couple minutes. Give me just a second. Okay, there we go. I'm back. All right, sorry, trying to get things started. I was running a little late. Excuse me, running a little later than I wanted to run. Trying to get on out here and beat this traffic. Excuse. Yeah, because by this time I usually have a couple of sips of something to help with my throat, and I haven't had that just yet. So yeah, please forgive the 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 interjections with the phlegm and things of that nature. Um, so as I'm letting people know, be forewarned. I do have Um, I do have, I am traveling. I'm going to be on the road here. But in doing so, we're going to have a great show. We're going to have a great show because this is a day that Yahuwah has made. Then I'll rejoice and be glad in it. So, there's a lot of the catchiness of the issues that's going on here in America, here in the United States. But don't get that twisted because that's something that's happening all around the world. And as we're beginning to see how things are transpiring, I always like to listen to some of the other YouTubers during the day. Give me just a second. Yeah, give me just a second. Trying to get some things together. But some of those YouTubers, I understand they may have a good they draw a big audience, but for me, I always look at there's a lack of, I'm not gonna say sophistication, but they do bring in some vital information. But I'm gonna say in terms of the spiritual component, there's a lack when you're not understanding the word, which is about, let's just face it, 99% of the people here. This is now a universal effort that has been perfected in this time, and that perfection is now meeting this reality that we're starting to see in terms of number one, the dollar. It's not necessarily rising, nor is it crashing. It's actually rather stagnant because that's how things were going to occur at this time. So, so you're seeing how. There we go. Let me know if you all can hear me. There you go. Thank you. Sorry, give me just a second. I gotta try and get this dog adjusted for this road trip. So it should be okay with connectivity. So so going back to my analysis, when we look at these types of things, especially within the geopolitical realm, those geopolitical realms are always the the flashpoint, the triggers, the things that cause, right, the issues and panic that then lead to these different societal disruptions. And for me, I always look at things in terms of, well, you have the understanding of things in the physical, and I get it, but you also have the understanding of things in the spiritual. But as we understand how prophecy folds and unfolds, and as prophecy unwinds, and in order for the physical to meet the spiritual, things occur, and they occur not necessarily in our purview per se. I'm going to say this. You won't see it happen until it happens. But you know it's going to happen because you know how and what the Most High has declared. We've gone through this scripturally. We've gone through all of these things to understand how these things will happen. Now, when people try to say, well, give us the play by play, you're not going to get a play by play. That's not how that works. Babylon wants to see everything. I need to see this. I need to see that. I need to experience this. I need to understand that. That's what Babylon does. And to be quite honest, that's actually incorrect. It's the opposite. Now, we are called to live by faith, but I'm going to tell you that for those that have considered what has been going on in this time, that has looked and truly understood what has been happening, everything that we've been saying for these last 5 years has now been happening. And the reality is, people don't like what we're saying because what we're saying makes sense. And not just making sense, but as we're saying things, we're not seeing it truly unfold because we don't know how they are unfolding it. See, in the script, let's just face it, the script is a script. The problem is that most people don't think that this is a script. Most people believe that, well, this is life, this is every day, it's gonna get better, and I always say, says who? Says who? Because those are the same people that I always ask, all right, so in the Bible, in this word, in this book that they use to justify a lot of craziness, what is it that they see that's going to make things or cause things to be better? And the reality is, they can't tell me that. Are you all able to hear me, family? Because hopefully I don't go on out. The phone does like a shut off, so I'm not able to see you all or any comments. So I don't know like what's been happening and how things are happening. So it's a little unusual. I may have to switch it to my iPad here in a second. But hopefully you all can see me. Looks like I'm not losing anybody as I'm going in to these touchy subjects. So as we then see that then they have issues with understanding what's been going on in front of them, then it becomes a frustration. And if you've noticed, that frustration then turns into, well, I try not to think about it. I've heard that a lot over these last couple of days. I try not to think about it. I try not to dwell on it. Is that wisdom? And I would say this in terms of the now Eurocentric Christianity, which now has seen the rise of Christian nationalism, which is far right, which is predominantly white, which is, you know, their brand of Christianity that is not biblically based at all. This is what happens when you have cowardice that has been bred over the last couple of centuries. It turns it into an easy, well, I'm not going to think about it. Well, what is that supposed to mean? Yeah, exactly, line pride. Watch and pray. Well, again, that becomes an easier. That's to me. I'm going to distance myself from everything. I'm not going to do anything, and you know what? That's literally how the wicked prevail. So I would say in our current predicament, as we are resting in this season, we have basically stated, look, we can't do this all. We've seen how the wicked have prevailed. So therefore, we're just going to have to rest and protect ourselves in this time of wickedness. Because clearly, we're experiencing a famine that's going on right now, where it's a loss of compassion, a loss of biblical understanding. And now we're starting to see the crack showing from the selfishness that we've always experienced on that side. And when that selfishness was not the cure all or the end all, then then they tried to bait us into recruitment to basically, quote unquote, save them. What makes matters so difficult this time is that we are not responding to their cries of help. I've fallen into this ditch of vanity. Somebody please help me out. And then we always have to ask, well, whose responsibility is that? Why is that our responsibility to save them? I didn't see that in the word. Thus said Yahuwah, save your captors, save your oppressors during their time of judgment and calamity. I haven't seen that. Now, the scriptures I have seen is don't interfere with God, don't interfere with the Most High as He's judging a people, lest that judgment falls on your head. That's what I have seen. During times of calamity, Isaiah 26:20 tells a different story. To shut yourselves up until the time of indignation has passed. Get out the way and let the Most High do what He has ordained. I'm sorry, this place has shown its wickedness. It's shown its colors. It's literally shown how it revels in literally destroying families. And what we're doing, actually, what we're seeing is the replay of what happened to us during the Spanish Inquisition. But remember, this is a Spanish Inquisition light. It's actually not its truest form because of the amount of hate and vitriol they had for us. During that time. So the reality is that this is purely an economic move, but it's a very disgraceful economic move. I would say, to say the least. And excuse me just a second. There we go. There we go. Jesus name. Okay, that will work. Have I lost anybody? So we're dealing with a calamitous situation that in turn they have created. Over the last couple of weeks, we have witnessed Marjorie Taylor Brown. She rode hard for Donald Trump. She was really, in my opinion, she was one of the worst. She was one of the worst. And Let me actually tell you what happened and why you actually had that falling out, which I believe is what you see is the result of the falling out. If I'm not mistaken, the Hyundai plant in which Korea was building their cars and things of that nature was occurring in her district, if I'm not mistaken. Her district had been impacted because of a racist. Let's call it what it was. It was a racist calling ICE, thinking that they were cute. And that created a bigger repercussion than what obviously the racists thought was going to be the case. So during that time that the Trump administration was trying their best to win back the Korean people, to be able to have them see their side of things so then they can build the plant. And understand, remember the whole interview that Trump had on Fox and everything else? Well, the reality was this: he was calling basically her constituents stupid. This is what we all noticed. I wasn't making this up. We all saw this. This was Trump's words. We just can't have people come on in that haven't been trained, that haven't been educated to do these skilled positions. So then that is layered on so many levels. Well, what education and training do we have here in the United States that makes the United States competitive? Have we even been properly educated to keep up with the demand of the global markets? Like, these are simple questions that most educated people, not even educated, just somebody that's just going to critically analyze what it is that keeps us competitive. Because I'm going to tell you this: if they're going for nurses, if they're saying that nurses aren't, quote, professional workers, then what are they going to do next with truck drivers, with janitors, with plumbers, right? All of these laborers and positions that I just can't go on out there and drive trucks. I need to be trained. I need to have some sort of a certification on my license that shows that I can properly make turns and and operate that type of a massive vehicle on the roadways without killing anybody. So now this becomes a very vital question for, number one, not just the health of this nation, but really the future of this nation, because what we're going to get ready to see as you're starting to see these layoffs and things of this nature, as you're getting ready to see different different self-driving vehicles coming onto the roads in these different places around the country. Well, those drivers that used to occupy those jobs, those skilled laborers that used to occupy those positions, as they're then getting phased out, then what happens? Yeah, you need a CDL to drive, commercial driver's license. So you're just gonna give a CDL to a vehicle to AI? I mean, granted, yeah, you don't have to worry about so much of the Department of Transportation requirements of, different things here and there for arresting that driver. But the bottom line is, it's literally been proven over centuries. You make up jobs to keep people employed, to keep an economy moving. The only reason that you take jobs away is because you do not have a healthy economy to keep funds moving. Remember, if you're owning a business, you're just trying to make sure that you can bring people in to the business to keep people employed so you don't have as much taxes that you have to pay. You're employing people because those expenses then lessen your tax burden because it's an operating expense. Shalom, brother Arnold. We're paying for you. Look, I truly have to say, pray for our folks that are caretakers, that are working with our family, that's working with our elders, as our elders are living the fullness of life that the Most High has given them, and those that are helping them in that process. Please don't take our family for granted. That's there in that capacity, because as a body, listen, that could happen to each and every one of us. That's one of the things I look at. My aunt and I, we share that burden with my dad. So a lot of things that you don't really understand until you get there, you grow. It's not you get there, excuse me. A lot of things you don't understand until you grow there. Oh yeah, Pastor Rick. Yes, you said right here. You said, have you seen China's automated fleet for construction vehicles? Automated construction of road, highways. Look, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, you do have to have a human element to it to make sure that everything is being audited, right, overseen. So, yes, there is a human element to that, but where does that human element come from? Because let's just face it, it's not going to come from our people. And if you really want to be, truthful, it's not going to come from their people either. Remember, one of the things that it was actually telling of what Marjorie Taylor Greene had stated in her resignation, because she's going to resign first week of January because she was getting death threats. They wanted to pin the whole Epstein thing on somebody, and that's who they pinned it on. But you understand, that's always when you're cheering for wickedness, you better be careful because those people that you're cheering for, well, let me tell you, wickedness has no loyalty. And I've never seen in the Trump administration no type no type of loyalty. Not that dude will turn on you in a second. Tweet something wrong. Post something wrong on True Social. Saul Donald, you took it that way. I was actually trying to sing your praises. Sorry. But the reality is that we laugh. But that's the idea that's coming down. That's it right now. Nobody there is enjoying going to work. They work, they got a job. That's a blessing. They got a job. But I'm just gonna let's just face it. Some folks that were supporting Hitler, they had jobs too. And they were enjoying their paycheck. They're like, yeah, we're getting paid. We're making money. Just wait till that regime had changed. And if you notice the setup, that in fact is the setup that's happening. I had said this. I had said this earlier. Oh yeah, okay. I'm going in and out. Bear with me, family. I got a little bit of some driving here in the next, I would say 15, 20 minutes. I should be okay. I had to pass through a relatively large river where I'm at, getting out of the Tampa Bay area. I should be looking a little bit better right now. Okay, there we go. I think I'm back. So, as I was stating this, I'm trying to glance down and, look at some comments while I'm kind of in the middle of the country here. So I'm all right in the nice tucked away in the right lane, just trudging along, just trudging along. So as I was explaining this, you now have a situation to where military folks, what they have, Senator Kelly, the astronaut, Mark Kelly, I think is his name. Sister Bonnie, I know you know. That's the senator out there in Arizona. I'm pretty sure you know. Whose wife had got shot a couple years ago. And he was on the space mission. He retired. He retired for the Navy, matter of fact. And then he made his his run for Senate, won Senate. But remember, yeah, Gabby Gifford, yep. Yeah. Now all of a sudden they're looking into him for treason. They're looking into him for treason. Because he told the military to defy all unlawful orders. Remember, Alvin, was it Halson or Halton? The admiral for Southcom, Southern Command, that oversaw the mission for everything that was happening there in Venezuela. He retired. They forced that man into retirement. That brother knew what was going on. Did you see that? And you have to understand, if they're going to do something illegal, they always try to look. They're very smooth in how they operate. They're very cunning in how they operate. They're not gonna tell you that what they're doing is illegal. They're gonna say, "Oh, everything's fine." Look, when the attorney general cleared the strikes, and I'm sure in World War II, they probably had some attorney clear everything that was going on. During Nazi Germany. See, the reality of lawfare is that it was something that was practiced against us, and now it's turning on them. I'm sorry, I never thought that I would never thought that I'd see the day. It does just make me want to break out the popcorn and binge watch this episode like this is something on Netflix. Because we never would have seen this years ago. This would be basically unheard of. That can't happen. That shouldn't happen. That's not right. That doesn't seem right. How can this happen? And this is really a devastating picture that they themselves have painted. And it was really telling to show the amount of desperation they had, and they still have, to have us involved. They're in desperation to have us involved. Well, can't you? Well, can't you? Well, why don't you? Aren't you a patriot? Look, I don't care what type of straw mans you have. I don't care what type of, you know, arguments or approaches you have. The only thing I can tell you is, um, all I know is when white folks are fighting, you stay out the way. That's the answer. That's the most politically appropriate answer that we can shield ourselves in. I'm sorry to tell you that when white folks are fighting, we have to stay out the way. We know how an errant, uh, stray bullet will go. When those guns get drawn, we don't want to be in the middle of the targets and catch an unintended stray. That would be foolish of us. One thing that we've learned from you all, and thank you for teaching us this lesson, not to be involved in fights. It's not our fight. Thank you for teaching us this lesson. We appreciate it. We needed to have that life lesson. And now we're proudly demonstrating that lesson. We learned a thing or two in our captivity. Because when they try to break up their own fights, that's when usually people get deleted. This is why we're seeing this trigger the Civil War. Generally speaking, it would be us. It would have been us. That would say, no, 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 we gotta save Massa. We gotta save Massa. Save Massa from himself. Because we love ourselves some Massa. Let me make sure. How am I sounding, family? Am I losing you all? Had to. Coming up on a little bit of a interesting area up here in the sticks. This area is called the Villages. Well, I'm over by it's up really by the sticks. Very interesting area. At one point, they said that that there was an epidemic of sorts of STDs in the villages. If you know anything about this area, the Villages is north of Orlando and kind of north of Tampa. It's like at a place where the turnpike and I-75 converge or diverge. It's where they meet on up. It's also where, it's a great place because you can have the best of both worlds. You could be in Orlando, in about an hour, and then you could be in Tampa, St. Pete. The water in less than 2 hours. So it's a good retirement community for its location. The problem was you had a lot of, YOLOs in their retirement ages, playing around with a lot of them blue pills. So grandma and grandpa were catching some dirty things. So if that's what you're doing there, what do you think what do you think these other your generations that's coming after you doing? Look, you know, in terms of like how this place has literally ruined their image, they can't even really have missionary missions anymore without any type of governmental oversight, especially in Africa. They don't know what they're going to be doing. Deleting kids, raping people. They've tarnished their image. They've tarnished their image. See that didn't know your image and your reputation, right? That means everything in the whole world. And the saddest reality is they used to say that and they don't even live by that anymore. If you've noticed, they don't live by their own standards. And the reality is, as I stated many, many times, if you don't have a standard, then you're going to be all over the place. The reality is they never had a standard. And now you're seeing them all over the place. And now, as they are all over the place, You're truly witnessing an incredible downfall. But you want to know what? The biggest standard that they always ignore has been the word. That's it. Law, statutes, and commandments. You got to meditate on his laws, his word. To be acceptable not in man's sight, but in Yah's sight. Which really begs to show and to tell, did they ever know Yah? And clearly, we could tell that they didn't. Right? A form of godliness. Man, Paul stated it correctly. And I feel so bad for Paul because they just went and they warped every bit of Paul's words. They did it. They knew what they were doing. But as they did it, they understood what the intent was in order to gain control over us. What we've experienced for these last couple of centuries was the ultimate form of psychological programming. Excuse me. And we allowed it. We allowed it because what we thought was we thought that, well, if we just hang on a little longer, if we just work at it a little better, if we just do a little more, right? It was always what we needed to do. The expectation was always on us, and it was zero expectation on them. Let's just be honest, it was zero expectation. We would have healed Babylon, but she refused to be healed. Jeremiah 51. I believe that's verses 7 and 8. See, those scriptures that you see in Jeremiah, Obadiah, Joel, Habakkuk, Amos, Hosea, those aren't scriptures that are there for quote unquote minor prophets just because they were page fillers. And, they needed to make the word a little bit bigger in the Old Testament just because it needed some, marketing help for the Bible. No. When you read read in Isaiah chapters 20 through 25 and understand what was being said to Egypt, to Kittim, to Assur, Asher, which was basically then Assyria, to Elam, to the Edomites, how the Most High was getting ready to judge. See, the crazy thing is, I had been just in a study, a personal study on Hezekiah. Most High had me reading the other day Isaiah chapters 36 through 38. See, Hezekiah had won some wars. And you know the coldest thing about it? Hezekiah didn't even have to fight anybody. The angel of Yah came through and smote 185,000 of their people. You want to know what ended up happening? Esarhaddon and then excuse Abimelech and others, they turned on each other. And then doing so, as their people fell, everybody had to find a scapegoat. Everybody had to find somebody to blame. So then they started to literally assassinate one another. And when you're dealing with people that's trying to kill you, that doesn't bode very well in quality leadership. But what ended up happening was, remember, after all that, they found that army, they pillaged that army. And the Yahudim had some money. The Yahudim had some wealth. See, gold and metals and things of that nature, they can always be repurposed. They can always help to fortify and refortify. So those funds, they of course dedicated to the temple. They dedicated that to Yah for that glorious victory. They were under siege, and the Most High caused confusion in the camp. The angel came through and decimated them. And in that decimation, the Most High had gotten the glory. It was the Most High receiving that glory. But let me tell you what ended up happening. Hezekiah became big-headed. Yeah, we want to sing his praises. We want to sing his victories. Absolutely. But there are some sacred things that you don't need to go around and showing people. There are some sacred things that don't need to be disclosed. People are writing far and wide to see your victory. How'd you do it? It's awesome how you did it. We want to celebrate with you. That's what the Babylonians did. That's what the Babylonians said. And if you understand, that's still the spirit of Babylon. We're happy for your success. Now tell us how we take that. Tell us how we do that. Tell us how we're able to conquer. Because we want to use that to destroy gloriously. They wanted the power. They first saw that power with Hezekiah. That's when they first engaged. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this. Yep, we're gonna do that, and yep, we're gonna work this, and yep, we're gonna get that. They started to come through with the plan. They started to come through with calculations, and the Most High was saying, "Look, they're calculating, they're formulating the plan. Repent, repent, or else I'm gonna give them into your hands." And then it came to the point of there's no more time to repent. The time of repentance is over. And then it was you're going to be given into the hands of your enemies. So now as you're given into the hands of your enemies, prepare your generations that are coming after you. Prepare them for these lands of their captivity. That's what the Most High was literally doing. He was literally giving us the cheat codes. This is how you're going to survive the lands of your captivity. This is what's going to end up happening. This is how it's going to happen. This is what you're going to do. I got to take away things from you. Matter of fact, I got to take away your understanding just because if I don't take away your understanding, that's a danger to you all. The Most High in His infinite wisdom had us forget ourselves just to be able to survive in captivity. Because then what our forefathers were doing, they were changing our names just to allow us to survive in our oppression, in our captivity. You know, the written record that you can find our names, slavevoyages.org. You know, in this administration, they wanted to take that away. They were trying to take it away from the Library of Virginia. Why is that? Because they wanted to completely decimate our history. You know how wicked and evil that is to completely decimate a person's history? I'm going to tell you this. Now, even though they would try to decimate our history here, remember everything that was done over here in the colonies up until the 1780s. The UK also has a record of that. I don't think a lot of people understand that. The UK also has a record of that. The UK also has record keeping. That's not just in the Caribbean. That was also here in the Americas. Somebody was backing the transatlantic slave trade. Somebody was making sure that they were getting profits because it was a commodity. And that commodity was being marked. That name was, yeah. For those of our ancestors that had drapetomania, you know, that's exactly how they stated it. Wanting wanting freedom was a mental condition, supposedly. You had a more than, you know, as commodity, you are ensuring that. Of course, they're going to keep records of who they're deleting. Why did you delete this person? They're a defective product. This, and this. They had an unfortunate incident occurring. Unfortunate this, unfortunate that. Now, they kept the tally, they kept the record. And for those that say that they didn't and all that other blah, 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 get out of here. We're viewed as wealth to them. We're viewed as a commodity to them. You don't tell me that they do not have meticulous records on all their wealth and commodity. For people that love money, yes, they do. I don't buy that for a second. That's their nature. That's like saying that they don't believe that they need to be having air to breathe. Get out of here. The problem is that when that happens, then that's going to be a calamitous situation. To me, I still believe that the U.S., again, pays their hush money, pays their bribes to keep those records under wrap and under wraps. Unfortunately, the U.S. doesn't have the money and the same financial wherewithal it once had. To maintain the records being hidden. Now, see, I believe that there are certain things that they try to destroy, but they know that they can't. Those that get the mind to, oh, we're going to do it, and then they pass away. How did such and such mysteriously die? Gee, I don't know, but I remember there was somebody in September because they were gone in September. They were gone in September. The statistics per capita to remember. Gang violence, he was about to say. But white on white crime had to put him away. All of that mess they talk, and they always ask themselves why. Oh, why? Oh, why? Wasn't it the black guy? They know. Look. They know good and well the stumbling block that we are. It's a good and it's a bad. They know the limitations that they have on us. Told you it's a good and it's a bad. Do you really think that they want us to cry on out? Look, why do you think that they're so nervous that we are on break? They're nervous that we're on break because they know that when we're on break, we'll do something. And that's usually we call on the Most High. It's amazing when you don't have the distractions, what Negroes will get up to. I don't know why I've always had this family Bible. I don't know why, you know, my ancestors so come so. Let me read this. Let me find out. And guess what will end up happening? Then the Ruach. You understand that's what happens. The Ruach pours out his spirit on his people. That's all his people. I don't care how wretched, how morally decayed. I don't care how bad your situation is. Because whatever situation you're in, guess who can turn it around? Yeah, his name is Yah. That's why I pray for our brothers and sisters in these camps. That's why I pray for our brothers and sisters and all of this wickedness that they're in. Because why? Because this society had to layer things on thick to make sure that we were not be in a position to where we're literally left alone. Chew on that one. When we're left alone, we're dangerous. We're dangerous because why? Because we'll start to cry out to the Most High. Father, give us understanding of this time. Give us understanding. Give us wisdom. Give us knowledge. No, not their knowledge. Give us knowledge, heavenly knowledge. Oh, you're not supposed to say that. Because then we get back into that word and then we say, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you know about this? Hey, tell us about that. Well, we can't really say that much because, well, We're not satisfied with that. Nobody is. For us, we aren't satisfied with the, we're not satisfied with that. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that then continues to pique our interest. If we're hard headed towards the Most High, do you think we're going to be or not be hard headed towards our oppressors? Man, absolutely. Well, if you can't listen to me, I'm just going to make sure that if you are thinking like that, then I'm going to call you this and I'm going to label you that and I'm going to, right? Character assassination. But you want to know what? For us, it's like, who cares? Our character's been assassinated since the womb. And then that also piques our interest even more. Okay, if you're going that hard over this, then something's not holding up. Let me take a look. That's how we do. We're silly, pesky Negroes. Why can't you all just fall in line? Oh, because that's not us. That's not our portion. That's not who we are as the mighty ones of Jacob. That's not who we are as the tents of Jacob. That's not who we are as the trees planted by the waters of the Most High, whose roots are strengthened by Him. We're peculiar. We're not a go along to get along when it comes to wickedness. That's not what we do. Matter of fact, we call out wickedness. And yeah, we'll call out wickedness to the extent of our careers. You don't see me in the military anymore. I saw what was happening in the first administration. I saw what was happening in that first term. I understood the assignment with what they were trying to do. I got it, and I boogied out of there. July of 2020. Captain Copeland, you could do Captain Copeland, and now all these intel analysts are now trying to make sure that they're lawyering up. So they're not on the chopping block on the Hague because they know how that goes. That's the first thing that is done. All the little peons that signed on that had some sort of an intel product, that had some sort of a little assessment statement. Oh yeah, no, we got your digital credentials right here because you signed this. We got your digital credentials right there because this is what you access. We got your digital credentials, and they're gonna have the list, and they're gonna be the first ones. They're gonna be the first ones swinging from the. What do they call that again? I was gonna say scaffold, but the gallows. The first one swinging from the gallows. But I thought I was following orders. But I thought this is why you're literally having them stating that in Congress, telling them, hey, listen, it may be cool now until they get prosecuted. What you're doing is literally setting us up to be invaded because these are crimes against humanity. Remember the whole global war on terror against Saddam Hussein? Well, guess what? Two can play that game. And all they're doing is they're literally giving the ammunition. And those that can see it and recognize it for what it truly is, they're trying to bail their people out. They're trying to make sure that they can save as many people from the gallows as they can. How cruel would that be? How cruelly ironic would that be? To see that end. Look, I'm sorry. I saw Saddam Hussein's end. When he was swinging. Yeah, they take videos of all that. They got a verified death. When you see that in their eyes as they're walking, as they're getting the bag over their head, they know they're already gone. They're already gone before the rope even hits them, even comes upon their neck. They're already gone. And it was pretty messed up to see it in that dank, dark room. They had the executioners. They had their mask on their face. And then they pull that lever, that bottom comes out, and you couldn't see the full picture on regular. It wasn't disclosed. Only what was released by DVID's defense video and also their stuff on Iraqi TV. But at the higher class servers and systems. Oh, you saw the full picture. And that did just, it's sobering to see that. Man, that happened. Wow. This is going, this, and this. Yeah. You had a man that had survived fighting against the Kuwaitis during Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And you all, and I don't think people actually understood what actually happened with that. It was the Kuwaitis It's pretty messed up. It was the Kuwaitis by behest of the United States and Saudi Arabia. Don't get it twisted, and Saudi Arabia. That had the Kuwaitis drilling underneath Iraq for oil. So they're drilling underneath Iraq to get the pockets of oil there in Iraq. That was the retaliation by Saddam Hussein. Remember, Saddam Hussein was propped up by the Bush administration and the Carter administration back in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, or 70s and 80s. All these folks that had once sold out. I mean, think about it. You had Jelani, the president of Syria, who was a former Al Qaeda member. They're all sellouts. And when he realized that the U.S. that the Kuwaitis, all right, can you all hear me? That's when that's when the invasion of Iraq went into Kuwait. That was what kicked off Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Because they were then trying to gauge, okay, well, what are we going to do here? How are we going to do that? Remember, that was the whole, we gauged them for about, what was it, not even 9, 10 years? Well, it was about 12 years. Because when I went into boot camp in 2000, that's all they were talking about. Even before I went into boot camp, 1998, 99, when I was first, literally looking at the military. Yeah, we're gonna recruit. That was when I was in high school around that time frame. Okay, that's cool. That's cool with your mission. Man, I just want my college degree. I just want a degree. I just want to be third generation military. That's a nice little legacy. But that's all I heard when I was in Marine Corps boot camp in good old San Diego. Yeah, we're going to go back into Iraq. They already had the plans of doing that decades ago, years ago. Now, I do have to kind of backtrack a little bit on Venezuela. As I was talking about Venezuela yesterday, I also have to remember that MBS, which is Mohammed bin Salman, the son of the king, he's the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. He had visited the White House last week. Now, in my opinion, I believe that he visited the White House last week because, to be quite honest, a war over Venezuelan oil keeps Saudi Arabia rich. Because then through the US, they can just split up profits to the Saudi government via OPEC. See, I believe that the regime change that they were trying so desperately to do back in June this year, that was a regime change type of ordeal. And I'm gonna tell you this. You already knew that those Eastern Mediterranean nation folks, you know, and they were mad because they wanted to see the NU clear device going off. And the problem was they were chicken. They were scared. A couple days ago, I'm looking at Times of India. I like the Hindustan Times, Times of India, and some other like first post. I do like it. I do enjoy looking at their channels because they're the most, I'm going to tell you, they're the most fair and balanced. So, being fair and balanced, you get more genuine reporting. So, in the Times of India, they were talking about the claims that Iran said that it won the war. And, the interesting thing is, putting on my Intel analyst hat, I would say, yeah, it was just a strike to make it look like something had happened, right? You can't be looking like a punk. Oh, yeah, we did this, we did that. Yeah, it was a safe face. It was a safe face maneuver. And the U.S. was basically saying, please don't say anything on this safe face maneuver because then if you think about it, if the U.S. or even Israel had declared that it was losing the fight or it had lost, do you understand what would have ended up happening? He would have had millions of Eastern Mediterranean nation folks, millions up and fleeing. Not only that, but you would have had the Palestinians then seeing the moment of weakness, and then they would be engaging. That could have triggered an absolute economic collapse right there. And a lot of people wouldn't, you know, I would have seen that. That's what I was talking about even back in June, July timeframe. Now, are they trying to quote unquote get ready for, another war? Here's the thing. In Iran, no. They took their shot. Sorry, they did. There are some crazy folks in the U.S. I'll adamantly admit that. But a lot of people, even though they're crazy, they're not stupid. And that shot that they took, that was basically it. Do you understand why they had to then turn around and, you know, look at Venezuela and then Nigeria? China, the other day, China gave them the ultimatum. I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago. China said, listen, we're going to have a reunification of our people, of our stuff, and you're not going to get involved in it. China basically gave the ultimatum to them. So even though they were trying to do their, the flash, or the hot point, try to make that a hot point for the US, basically China said no. You now have a situation, Ukraine, they can't get out of Ukraine. To me, Ukraine, I'm going to say this, that's when you're going to you'll see a conventional nuke being used, but it'll be like a low yield. You'll see a low yield nuclear weapon being used. It'll be low yield. They're just setting up everything for, oh, we tried to do this, we tried to do peace. It got worse, blah, blah, blah. We can't deal with a dictator, a tyrant. Everybody will start having that. As soon as you see that, just be prepared. There's going to be something occurring. Problem is, this is a really crazy thing. The problem is, I would not be surprised. Just saying, I would not be surprised that would be the U.S. being on the target first. So we shall see. And again, I don't know what got delivered to Venezuela. You have nuclear material in Iran that hasn't really been accounted for. There's still quite a lot of things that's going on. So there's a lot of triggers that's through the Civil War that it can be a detrimental impact. But this is why you always hear them saying, oh, well, we're doing this, well, we're winning that, well, we're doing, it's really we're still at the point where everything is fine as long as the lies are believed, right? As long as the lies are believed. They just know that there is a point in time that you can only have the lies believed for so long. And then that's when people start to kind of break away or tear away. That's when the issues come. So I do have to say that, we're in a very interesting time period of sorts as we're seeing all these things play on out. And it's not to get anybody, don't get rattled or riled on up. Believe it or not, there are a lot of things that are taking shape. And as they are taking shape, it really then creates the opportunities for us here in the background. So don't get it twisted. There are opportunities in the background that is being afforded to us as we speak. And if you've noticed, they're now mad that we're looking at these opportunities and that we're coming through on these opportunities. We're being forced. Here's the reality of this before I let you all go. We're coming to a point in time, we're at the decision point to where we are being forced to work with each other. I don't care your creed. I don't care, what you may have or what you may think or what your ideology is. It doesn't matter at this point. We have to work together and then we have to figure that on out as we're working together. But nonetheless, this is forcing us to work together. So, with that said, family, I made it up to where I needed to go here in Gainesville. This drive. I appreciate you all. 212. Yeah, I'll be at home tomorrow. Reporting live from beautiful Tampa. But right now I'm reporting on the road from Gainesville, Florida. From the Ville. Hopefully you all can hear me. I'm kind of in a little bit of the sticks around here at the moment. All right. So family, again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. With that, most time willing, I will be back on here tomorrow. Yes, family, your prayers are definitely much needed, much appreciated. And family, I would say this, when I say thank you for your prayers and things of that nature. Oh yeah, no, this was not a bad trip at all. Yeah, you're right, Renaya, because um especially on the stretch of 75 that I'm on, I don't lose internet. I don't lose internet. Now, if I'm going down to South Florida,
in this area of Gainesville. So this, yeah, um, there we go. I'm back now because yeah, it's a lot. People laugh like Gainesville. They'll say like it's Southern Georgia, around here. So yeah, but no, I'm actually the reality is, and yeah, I'm here on my phone, so I get a lot of phone calls coming in, so it'll start to miss. Yeah, Ray's excited. He knows where we're at. This German Shepherd is smart. He knows the deal. He knows the deal. So oh, he's too smart for his own good. Unfortunately, too smart for his own good. But I say this, family. Yeah, just pray for this breakthrough. Pray for a breakthrough. There's a couple things on the back end. I need your prayers, family, for this breakthrough. I need your prayers, family, for this breakthrough. This is a breakthrough for our community. So it's been a little bit. It's been arduous. It's been difficult. But family, that's why I say please keep us in prayer for this breakthrough. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, most time willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And with that, family, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings, Yasharel.